heavy kind of shattered swooping fringe, collapsing the corners, collapsing behind the fringe area, layering the top as you move, transition from the back to the front to get that volume on the sides. All of these techniques put together, melted into one to get us kind of that shag feel, right? A wearable shag version, really loose and not be overly perfect, not be combing it straight constantly. On this, we're gonna just pop in a bang. I'm basically taking an 1.5 inches or so, inch plus back halo section back to the back top of the ear. That's gonna give me all of that hair so there's no skip there in that forward graduation. And I'm just gonna elevate up slightly depending on the density of her hair. The thicker it is, probably the likelier I'm gonna hold it higher depending on how much weight I want at that entrance point. So on her, because of the shapes that we're styling and stuff, we're gonna open this up just above the fringe to make sure we have some weight for the next haircuts. So just trying not to be too overly aggressive with holding it perfect and just coming in here and establishing a shape. Now I'm gonna walk this shape back a little bit before I then lift up once and then come out surface, keeping some of that weight on the corner. So I'm gonna open that face up, let's just check it, and then I'm gonna take another pass here. And I'm actually gonna lift up this forward graduation behind the bang section a little higher. And that'll give us a little bit more playfulness right there around that face. Leaving that front corner, I don't wanna thin down that front corner too much off the bat. We can make the decision when it's dry to come in and like soften that corner up. Pulling down the rest of that front. And this is all gonna be a part of the back. None of this is gonna be part of the bang, at least not at the end. That layering will happen. Just coming in and surfacing that weight off down right behind the bang. And that's gonna give us a nice, lovely like kick open there. Right at that. Just a little bit heavier at that fringe point, but we're still gonna get that pieciness of the like kind of bi-level-ish shag thing. So just taking that section so you can see it, diagonal back to the back of the ear, sectioning that out of the way. Notice I'm trying to not be perfect. I'm gonna take that and just slightly walk it back. And you could take a pass here, and this could be it. This could be it. You could just blend down to the bottom and just leave this the way it is. Or you can take a second pass. Taking that next pass and just kind of getting behind that weight just a little bit, not as quite as heavy as the other side because this hair has a lot less. Just making sure that these fronts kind of match up a little bit. So if I need to just shorten slightly. Being careful to not go crazy because we have some more haircuts coming up. Yeah, just opening that front up a little bit, letting it have some life, letting it have some playfulness there in the bang. What we want to stay straight from is being too perfect. As you can tell on the rest of the haircut, we're gonna get pretty wild. Bringing down the rest of that hair. None of it's really gonna get behind this, but we'll take a pass anyway. Just opening up slightly, right behind that bang section. And then just taking a look. So we've started in that bang, right? Because this is gonna be the focal point of this haircut. Pulling that vertically up. And then we're just gonna kind of shag this out. We're gonna go in, put some weight in, and then shag out. And that's gonna give me a nice collapse on the bottom. Moving vertical all the way across that part. And then collapsing that bottom out. Back section, I kind of push this slightly towards the front because that's the part that matters the most to me. And then letting some of that length down so I don't go crazy, and then just kind of bringing that up. Now, this is where I'm gonna transition on the next section. So finishing that right side off, same thing, pulling out, cutting behind, get me a little bit of texture in there, dropping some of that down, that length down, and then edging off the rest of that back section, pulling more off to the side. Just gonna break through this ever so slightly, drop down my length, making sure I'm not doing anything there, and then working that up. And that's gonna collapse that side. Now on the layering pattern, we're gonna get a little bit more interesting. I'm gonna go a pretty steep diagonal forward. We're gonna invert slightly back to us, right? And what we're gonna do here is come in, do a pass of texture, and then we're gonna collapse it. We're actually gonna raise that entrance point of the layering a little higher as we come to the side, and then keep a little bit more of our weight as we come through, which is gonna balance out our weight transition from the back to the front and add a little bit more going on at the top of the front. And I'm just gonna stay kind of vertical on top of this. Staying really loose, coming in. You could be a little bit piecey here in the front if you want. It's always fun to see what you get. And then just kind of come in and soften off that top. And you can start to see as we get a little bit more rock and roll here. One little pass here at the top. Moving to the other side. Small inversion coming out. A little texture pass. And then surface off, collapsing the top of that shape, leaving the weight of the sides. We can always choose, we haven't done the length yet, so we can always choose to come back in and how we attack that based on what's left. One section forward, another steep diagonal forward, slight inversion, texture pass, just to give some negative space, and then an aggressive collapse of the top layering, which is much higher than the back because we want to get higher as we transition forward. And then one pass right in the kind of exit point of the bangs. And this is, I don't want to thin out the bang. I just want to break into the top, right? That layering of that exit point of the bang. That's the key here, being aggressive. And then really kind of melting that into this point here. So we have a nice exit point coming off, nice and weighty. The whole front has got a nice weighty feel, as opposed to kind of a juxtaposition of what I normally do, whereas I soften everything. Everything has like a soft entrance point and a soft exit point, right? We're kind of going a different way. We're getting a little heavier, and as you can start to see this shape build up. So once again, just kind of fingering it into a finished style. We're always going to be like working on that finished style, getting it in there, getting it solid. And then we're going to come back through and we're going to edge off our length. So just visually now, I'm going to come in and just establish a quick length. It's nothing crazy. We're just going to kind of come in and do some C carving and get exactly the pieciness or the strength we want, whichever one you want, whichever one you're going for, in that shape. So I kind of went with a collapse shape, so I'm going to continue that and really collapse that stuff down into that length. So just kind of a negative space pass. So one pass kind of just giving separation. I always want to come in from the back going forward into that front so we don't ever thin off that front. We can always make that choice in a second. And then just one pass kind of connecting the top with the bottom, even though it's still collapsed. And then that finish kind of visual cut you want to do around the front. And then on this haircut, I'm basically just going to pinch off that corner, that front corner, and get it just kind of playful up in there a little bit. Just working that front with that front corner on the other side. Little negative space right there. Little separation. And this side's way thinner, right? So I'm just gonna come in and just be real careful with it. Maybe pop in a couple random bits there in the front. And just like removing that corner, which is the opposite of almost everything we do, of trying to build weight up on that corner, that changes the shape entirely. So this haircut is really quite done, or at least close to done. So we'll kind of mess around with this a little bit, and then we'll style it out. Finding the bend I like, and then just putting a clip in there. You just like twist that first bang section in there a little bit, pinch it with your fingers, and then just clip it back behind the ear, leaving the hair down on top of it so you can hide any kinks and stuff. But we're looking at that kink and just making sure it's the kink we want to get around the face there. So just gonna come in here and like really bang in that front, kind of pulling back a little bit as I'm getting this one, moving that iron, really kind of getting it in there, and then kind of holding that and then twisting back the other way, pushing forward in the other direction, and then once again coming back, coming down at the bottom and just kind of hitting it back the other way. Now this one I'm kind of just gonna be playful with the ends and kind of let them do their thing. Just don't overdo them. You wanna like slide through the ends as quick as possible. Get this back and away from the face and pop it up and back and forth. Just to keep it soft, but it's gonna pop that face. So I'm not gonna go through every section here. Just gonna grab some. I like that texture. Just put a little kink in it. And get that softly down. Working on the rest of that front in one section here. Just kind of borrowing from my previous section a touch. So this is that carved length, that shaggy kind of heavy fringe, a little disconnected into that forward graduation. This is another shape, another look that just after using it or letting it air dry, we just go in and hit it with a touch of heat with a flat iron, giving it some direction, smoothing it in spots, and just how quickly you can play and kind of manipulate off of that. Hit it with a curling iron if you want to get a little more volume out of the top and get this to pop up a little bit. But this is our finished shape.